Welcome to Spicy Toast Gaming and our Neeko guide for Path of Champions. If you enjoy the video, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. First, we're going to start off with a brief overview of the champion, discussing their general playstyle so you have a better understanding of the champion and if you want to invest your time and resources into them. First up, we have Subtypes. The main focus of this deck is playing with cards with unique subtypes to achieve powerful effects. Next up, we have Disguise. This is a Neeko only mechanic, and it allows her to be played as different 2-cost cards. This gives your playstyle some versatility and variety. On to Impact. This is the main keyword that the deck is built around and can help push some extra Nexus damage. Up next, we have 2-cost Champion. Being able to play your champion in the first round of a match is incredibly strong, especially at higher levels. And last up, we have unique relic interactions. With Neeko's disguise mechanic, some relics work slightly differently than normal, which allows Neeko to have some unique gameplay opportunities. Alright, that's it for the overview. Let's hop in game to better explain some of the points we touched on here. Alright, in game now, you see we have Neeko at level 23 with the 3 stars. She is a 2-cost champion, and you see she has the Shapeshifter subtype. She's a 2/2, and when you play her, you may disguise me as one of 3 2-cost followers from my origin. So you see that? That just means a bird, cat, dog, Elnuck, fae, reptile, or spider. So you're not going to be disguising her as like an elite or something like that. So what happens is when you play her, you're given 4 options. You can either play her as normal, just her base card, or you can choose to play her as one of the different followers, and she'll be disguised as that follower until she leaves play or levels up. So essentially, she's that card until she dies or levels up, or unless she gets recalled or something like that. So she's a 2/2, and then the level up condition is attack. You've attacked with allies that have 6 different subtypes. Now once she levels up, she transforms into this card. She goes to a 3/3. She gains elusive and now attack. Grant allies that have a subtype everywhere, so even if you haven't created them yet, 1/1. Some very strong scaling here. It's going to take her a while to level up though, so normally you won't be getting that many attacks in, but it is still a nice way to help close out the game. Now her champion spell is Shapesplitter, so 3-cost fast. Create a exact ephemeral copy of an ally, then swap them. And this also creates a Neeko in your deck since it's her champion spell. Very strong card, a lot of different ways to use this, and it's a great way to save your units from enemy attacks or spells. Alright, let's go take a look at her star powers. So for your 3-star, we have Harmony of the Wild. Each round, the first ally you play with a different subtype than other allies costs 2 less. If you have the 1-star version of this, it's just a 1-cost reduction instead. The 2-star, definitely not Neeko, +1 starting mana, game start for each ally in your deck. If it has a subtype, granted impact. Otherwise, it becomes a shapeshifter. So as long as your cards have their own unique subtype, or just a subtype, they're getting that impact. If they don't have any subtype on it at all, then they gain the shapeshifter subtype so they can still get that cost reduction, but they're not going to get that impact. So you're still wanting to get subtype cards, so they're going to get that impact, but at least your other star power will still benefit cards that don't inherently have their own subtype. Taking a look at the starting deck now. So first we have Behold the Infinite with that Farsight. So 2-cost burst and invoke. So this is going to give you a random selection of the celestial cards, either giving you some spells or units. Some of the units in there, well, all the units in there are going to be Celestials, which again is another subtype that can contribute towards your level up, which can be quite helpful for you. Next we have the Frostcoat Cub. So you can play this either as the Cub, or you can spend the 6 mana to play it as the Mother. So the Cub is a 2-cost 3/4. The Mother is a 6-cost 7/5 with that Overwhelm. Now it also has that Dragon's Tooth, so 1/1 and Fury. So this counts as both a dog and a dragon. This is quite beneficial because if you already have a dog on the board, you can still get the cost reduction by playing this as a dragon. And when you attack, this will count as 2 subtypes for your level up. So getting that Dragon's Tooth is quite nice to have. Then we have Neeko for another 2-cost. The Tuft Web Spinner, so a spider. get that giant spell, taking it to a 3/3. Got that fearsome, and then play. If an ally has a different subtype than me, give an enemy -2 this round. As long as you have another unit on the board, this play effect will be able to activate. You just have to make sure you do have another unit on the board. And again, this is the spider, so you got that subtype to hopefully contribute to the level up. Next we have the Shape Splitter. You see, again, this is her champion spell, and we get the hand sensor on it, so grant the top ally in your deck 1/1. Pretty small upgrade, but can be quite helpful. Next we have the Bonehide Tri-Tail. Now this is a great card and will really help you finish off games. So it's a 4-cost 3/2 with Overwhelm and Spell Shield. But when I'm summoned, grant me 1/1 for each different subtype other allies have. So normally you're going to be stacking the board with different subtypes. Then when you play this unit, they're going to get a whole bunch of stats from all those different subtypes. And with that Overwhelm, it can work out quite well for ending the game. Up next, we have the Grave Companion. So 4-cost 3/5 with that pickaxe and a dog. Each round, the first time another ally dies, draw 1. So this is very beneficial, gain a bit of extra draw. Neeko can somewhat struggle with running out of cards to play, especially since you have that cost reduction mechanic. So any ways of having extra draw can be quite nice. Next we have Glacial Sorin, so 5-cost Reptile. This has 5/5 and Overwhelm with that Great Club. When I'm summoned, grant the top 3 units in your deck 1/1. If it has a different subtype than me, or if an ally has a different subtype than me, draw one of those cards. So again, great way to draw more cards, as well as buffing up the units in your deck. And then we have the Crested Lionhawk, so a bird, 6-cost 5/5 with that Double Time Watch. So every round end, it's going to reduce its cost by 1. Has that tough, and then play. If an ally has a different subtype than me, again, this should always be the case, manifest a Demacian spell. Now this is pretty hit or miss. When you play this, or it gives you an option of 3 Demacian spells, and you can pick one of those, and this is just from all the selection of Demacian spells, so it's going to be quite random what cards you're actually getting. Sometimes those can really help you out, other times it's kind of just a throwaway card. Now you may be thinking a lot of these look fairly expensive, but remember, every round you're going to be getting that cost reduction, so you're going to be playing these for 1 or 2 cheaper. And one other thing I want to mention is some of these cards have good summon mechanics or on summon, which you can manually trigger with your Shape Splitter since you're creating a copy of that card. So for the Glacial Sorin, what you can do is if you play Shape Splitter on this card, when you're summoning another one, it's going to be, again, granting the units at the top of your deck that 1/1, and then drawing one of them again. So if you need some extra draw, that's a way you can kind of manually trigger that, which is quite nice. Also, the Bonehide Tri-Tail. When you copy this, you copy all of its stats, but then it again triggers that 1/1. So essentially the copy that you're creating ends up being even more powerful than the original version. Just something to bear in mind with your Shape Splitter. A lot of different ways to play this card, but it does trigger those on summon effects, which can be quite nice, and there's a lot of different ways you can utilize that. Alright, let's go take a look at the champion levels to see what upgrades we are currently missing. Alright, so you see here, level 24, Frostcoat Cub also gets that Philosopher's Stone. When I'm summoned, draw 1. That is quite nice. The deck does struggle with having extra draw, so getting more of that passively, very nice. Again, one thing you can do, since this has that Philosopher's Stone when it's summoned, you could use that Shape Splitter spell on this unit to again trigger more draw, could be quite nice. Then Behold the Infinite also gets the Hex Tech Fabricator rank 1, so giving us a common item. We are playing this fairly often, especially since we're also drawing it at the start of the game, so that's a decent upgrade, not anything too crazy, but nice little bonus. And that looks like it's it for additional items going on our cards. Overall, I think it's a fairly strong deck. I think the upgrades that you're getting through your champion level ups are really helping to mitigate some of your weaknesses, especially with that draw or getting some extra subtypes through that dragon, even reducing down the cost of your Lionhawk. It's a pretty well-made deck, and I love the fact that they're using so many cards, or essentially all cards we haven't seen in any other decks. Really enjoy that, and overall, it's quite well put together. Taking a look at Relics now, there's a lot of different ways you can build Neeko, especially since she is a 2-cost champion. What I'm currently running with is Archangel Staff plus the Grand General's Counterplan. That way we're playing her at the very start of the game, and then every round after that she's refilling our spell mana and then also making a shape splitter so that we can always try to save our units from enemy spells, enemy attacks, or just trigger on summon effects again. It's a playstyle I really like to use, but there's one important thing to note with the Grand General's counterplan. If you disguise Neeko, the Grand General's counterplan every round will create a fleeting copy of the card she's disguised as in hand. So instead of generating the champion spell every round, you're generating a copy of whatever card she is pretending to be. So that can be nice in some situations, but if you're trying to play with her champion spell, it's not going to be working. So that is the main unique relic interaction. It can be fun just being able to play that card over and over again, whatever it happens to be. It's usually not necessarily the optimal game plan, but it can be a fun change of place and give you a very different play style that you don't really get anywhere else. For common relics and what you probably want to choose first, so Starchild Staff, always a great option in your first couple matches, just giving you a bit of extra sustain. Chameleon's Necklace, game start, create 2 copies of me in your deck. This is especially good for Neeko, as she's a 2-cost champion, so you want to be able to have her in your opening hand and play her right away, but then also her champion spell is very strong, so having extra copies while she's on the board is also quite good. Now, your relics do also work while you are disguised, so if you wanted to put like Challenger or Quick Attack, that would also work perfectly well, since whatever unit you're disguised as, if you disguise her, will also have those on there as well. Lost Chapter, when I'm summoned, refill your spell mana. This is also a decent pick. Banshee's Veil to protect her, since she is a fairly weak unit, can be helpful as well. I will say that if you're able to use your champion spell on her, you normally have enough protection as it is, but that can be good for an extra layer of protection. And then I also like the Rageblade attack grant me 1/1. Since you can play her round 1 and just keep attacking with her throughout the game, she can scale up decently well. Alright, for some more rare relics, the Corrupted Star Fragment works pretty well on her. Support, kill my supported ally, grant me its stats and keywords. Since you can just play her throughout the start of the game and be scaling her up the entire game, it is a nice bonus. The one issue is you can often run out of units on your board. They're not the easiest to replace, so sometimes you'll just have an empty board other than Neeko, which can become an issue. Crown Guard Inheritance, this can be a powerful combo, so she only levels up when she actually attacks, which means she'll be able to attack, use up the attack token, but then level up and generate another one right away. So this can be a very powerful game-ending combo. However, especially at lower levels, she's not the easiest to level up. So this is a relic I would normally wait to use for your second or even third relic slot. Gale Force, Scout, Round and Recall Me. This can be fine, but I don't find it's actually optimal for Neeko, at least not early. If you're wanting to do some broken combo with her when she's like max level at level 30, like Gale Force, Gatebreaker, Bounty Hunters, I'm sure that would work out fine just because that's a powerful combo, but especially early, this isn't the route I would normally go with her. Greenglade Shadeleaf, support, grant my supported ally elusive. This is actually quite nice. Again, just because you can have her on the board, round 1, and then every single attack she is supporting another unit, giving them that elusive. If you end up going with this, what I would highly recommend trying to do is get either Stabilize or Shadow Totem. Both of those, when you play your champion, it's going to create another ephemeral copy of them. And then what you do is you have the ephemeral version support Neeko, giving her or granting her that elusive. Since she has such a low stat line, it can be dangerous to attack with her, even round 1 against some of the tougher opponents. So having that ephemeral copy grant her that permanent elusive is a really nice benefit and something I always try to look out for when I'm using Shadeleaf. Also, an important note about the Stabilize power. If you disguise Neeko, the Stabilize won't go off because it doesn't count that you played the champion. The game thinks you played the follower, so it's not summoning that ephemeral copy. Guardian Angel, not bad. So you start adventures with 1 extra revive, that's nice, and then Last Breath, if it's the first time I've been slaying this game, revive me with 1 health. Again, she is a pretty squishy champion, so having that little backup plan can be quite nice. Guardian's Orb, when I'm summoned, grant epic items to 3 random cards in your deck. This is good for 2 different reasons. 1, she's a cheap champion, so you could pair this with Gale Force to manually have her get recalled every round, and you can play her again for cheap, giving your units these epic items. But you should also be able to use the Shape Splitter, her champion spell, to again summon another copy of her to give more of your units those epic items. It's a very different playstyle, but I know some people really enjoy it. The Blade Rack allies have Challenger, always a very strong relic to have just to make sure all your units are taking favorable trades. I find with Neeko that I want to have as full of a board as possible, and I really try to protect my units. That's why I like using her champion spell so much, and Blade Rack also feeds into that, letting you take safer trades and just make sure you're not losing your units in bad attacks. Bounty Hunter's Renown, I have 1/1 for every 200 gold you have. This is one that I'd normally only throw in for potentially your third slot, but if you're just wanting to get some extra stats, this is generally the best stat relic in the game. And then to finish off, we have the classic Troll King's Crown. Allies have Overwhelm. Very strong for being able to end the game. For Neeko, I don't find it's as important as many other champions. You do have a decent amount of Overwhelm already in your kit, and you also have that impact doing a good amount of Nexus damage whenever you attack. So I think there's better options in many situations, but this can still be a decent pickup. Alright, that is it for Relics. Let's go take a look at what powers you might want to shoot for, as well as what support champions could work well as her, and then we will finish up with some cards you might want to look out for, as well as her ranking for her region and her tier list ranking. Alright, taking a look at some powers now. So here on the left, we have Rush Them Down. When you summon an ally, give it 1/1 this round. This can be a pretty nice increase in general, but also for Neeko, you're able to trigger summon mechanics again with your champion spell, so you can kind of get this benefit more than once, but it's just a solid common relic for you to pick up. Next up, we have Raiding Party. When you damage the enemy nexus, grant the top ally in your deck 1/1. Now this is very good for Neeko. You get much more benefit out of this than most other champions because you have that impact. So whenever you attack, most of your units are going to be having that impact on them. And so when they hit the nexus, they're hitting it again, or even if they get blocked out, they're again shooting out that little missile that's going to be damaging the nexus. So you're getting this to proc much more than most other champions, really buffing up your units. This is probably one of, if not the strongest common power you can get for Neeko. Definitely pick it up if you see it. You'll be surprised by the results. Next up, we have Evolution. So this one is rare, so it's going to be harder to, or it's epic, I should say. So it's going to be harder for you to grab. Allies have 1/1 for each keyword. Now, most of units have keywords, but by baseline, almost all of them are also going to have impact. So you're really going to get a lot of benefit from this. Pick it up if you ever see it. Next up, we have Lie in Wait. Allies everywhere that cost 3 or less are lurkers and have lurk. Now, almost all the cards you're going to be playing are going to cost 3 or less, at least your followers. So even though you have some more expensive cards in your deck, generally you're always playing them at a reduced cost, and so almost everything is going to have the lurk keyword on it since you're playing it for that reduced cost. So this can really help scale up your entire deck and is quite beneficial. Next up, we have Dragon's Rage. When you summon an ally granted Fury, it is a dragon. So yes, the keyword is nice and this can help your scaling, but the main way you're doing this, or main reason, is your units are now technically dragons, so when they attack, they have that subtype as well, further helping you level up, which can be a great addition. You're trying to level up as fast as possible because then you're getting a stacking buff every time Neeko attacks. Trifarian Might. When you summon a 5+ power ally, it strikes the weakest enemy. So this is decent on its own, but the crazy thing with this is you can manually trigger this with your champion spell. So you have a couple 5-cost units, you can use your champion spell on them to summon another copy of them. The interesting way it works though is it summons the unit and it doesn't immediately make them ephemeral. So it summons them, they strike an enemy, and then they get ephemeral so they don't actually die from the initial strike. Normally when you summon an ephemeral unit, as soon as it strikes something, it then dies. But with the way that Trifarian is coded with the spell, it gets the strike off, but then stays on the board so you can keep using it. So this pairs quite well together. Next up, we have Enfeebling Strike. When you damage an enemy, reduce its power by the damage dealt. One of the, if not the strongest defensive power in the game. Also, this works especially good for Neeko, again, because of her champion spell. Quite often, you'll be either attacking or blocking, and the enemy is going to end up killing one of your units, so you use your champion spell to switch them out for an ephemeral copy that then gets blocked or is blocking, And so the unit that they are then striking gets reduced down by that power. It ends up working out quite well and really can help you hold off on games until you get your win condition online. And it's just a very strong power, especially for being a common. Next up, we have Hold It, rare, round start, stun the strongest enemy. Again, just another decent defensive power. And then to finish off, we have Sorcery, round start, refill your spell mana. If you're not using Archangel Staff, always great for having mana to play your different spells, especially your champion spell. Alright, taking a look at support champions now. Now this isn't going to be an exhaustive list of every support champion, just some aspects you might want to look out for, and then some champions we found that worked quite well with Neeko. So at first we have subtypes. That's the main thing you're wanting to look for with support champions. Do they have subtypes that especially you don't have already that can help you level up faster? Then we also have summon units. So you can really struggle with your board emptying out and you just don't have enough units to attack or block. So being able to summon more units, especially cheaper units or units with those different subtypes, can really help you out. So some of the best champions I've personally found, we have Renekton. Renekton himself is a 4 cost. Normally you can play him for a 2 cost, which is very strong. He counts as both Ascended as well as a Reptile. So again, 2 subtypes. You do have Reptile in your kit already, but it's one of your more expensive units. But then that Ascended keyword is not something you're normally going to be able to get. So that works out quite well. His other units are also strong, but they don't have solid subtypes. Next we have Heimerdinger. He is a Yordle, and all of his turrets have a unique subtype on them as well that you normally wouldn't be able to get. And then he also is able to summon units, so it pairs quite well together, always having units that you can fill out your board with. Next up we have Quinn. Now she's really good for you because every single one of her cards has a different subtype. So one of the cards she comes with has the Elite subtype, and then one of the other ones has a Yordle subtype. Then she can also summon a bird. So you're able to get a lot of different subtypes with Quinn, which can really help you level up quite quickly. And then to finish off, we have Jax. So Jax, all of his units have the Weapon Master subtype, and they're quite cheap to play. You can easily refill your board with them, getting some powerful equipment, and then they again have that unique subtype for helping you level up as fast as possible. Alright, on to cards to look out for. Now again, this is not an exhaustive list. There's plenty of other cards that also work out quite well. This is just some cards that when you finish a battle, you'll be rewarded with random cards, as well as in shops you'll see different cards that you have the availability to buy. So this is both some cards you want to look for, but then also the reasons why you want to be looking out for certain cards. So here on the left, we see the Serpent. Now you can grab this from your 2-cost Invoke. You see at the top, it has both Celestial and Serpent. So 2 keywords on it. Great for being able to play that early. That's giving you a third of your level up right there. Next we see Anura and Froop. So it's a Reptile, 3-cost 2/2. Allies that have a different subtype than other allies in play cost 1 less. So as long as this card is on your board, it's going to be further reducing down the cost of playing some of your cards. And really what you want to be looking for is any cards that have benefits to subtypes you want to consider getting. You see that with the next card, the Creature Cataloger. When you summon a unit with a subtype, so it doesn't have to be a unique subtype, just any subtype, grant it 1 power. Then you see Warden of the Tribes. Bit expensive, it does have that double time watch, so you might be able to still play it. But its effect, when I'm summoned, grant allies 1/1 for each different subtype you've summoned this game. So that will give you some massive buffs for your entire board, which can be quite strong. And then last up, you're probably going to see this one fairly often, but the Ferocious Fluffs. So it's a bird, it has impact already, and then when I'm summoned, grant other allies that have subtypes 1/1 and impact. So this is just a solid unit on its own. You'd normally be able to play this for like a 5-cost, and it's just further buffing up your whole board since they're all going to have subtypes. So again, there's plenty of other cards that you should keep an eye out for, but when you're looking at cards, one, you want to see, does it have subtypes? So the card on the left, you see the Serpent, it has 2 subtypes. That is amazing. You normally want to pick up that card if you see it, or those types of cards that have multiple subtypes. But then any other card that just gives you bonuses if you have subtypes is really going to help you out. Alright, so on to some tips and tricks. There's a lot of different ways you can play her, and these are just some of the things I've picked up while leveling her up. So at first we have look for cards with multiple subtypes. We were just talking about this, but it is very important. It really helps your level up. Items and relics work while disguised. Now, like we touched on before, some of them might work slightly differently, but don't be afraid of disguising your champion and thinking that whatever relics or items you have on them aren't going to be beneficial. Then next up, stabilize won't work when disguised. We touched on this again earlier. If you're disguising your champion, stabilize doesn't trigger because the game doesn't realize you played a champion. And then last up, Grand General's Counterplan makes a fleeting copy of the card you're disguised as, not a fleeting copy of your champion spell. This can be both good or bad, but it does give you some unique gameplay opportunities. And then this is a big one for the tips and tricks. As you see, when you look at your card for Neeko, there'll be a box on the side that shows you subtypes that attacked. So here you see this game we've attacked with Bird, Elite, and Spider. Quite often it can be confusing, or you can easily forget what units you've actually attacked with and what subtypes you still need to attack with to level up. So very handy, just look at your Neeko, and you can see this box right here that'll tell you exactly what subtypes you have attacked with, so you can prioritize attacking with other subtypes to level up. Alright, so some final thoughts. First, let's start off with her ranking. I would say before level 20, when you're just starting playing her, she's probably more of a C tier champion. She can be quite complex and a little rough to get going right at the start of the game. Now, once you hit level 20, she starts really hitting her stride and is more of a solid B tier champion. Now, post level 20 does not mean max level. I don't have her at max level yet, so I'm not going to be giving a ranking for that. However, since she is a 2-cost champion, I would guess that she's going to rise at least another rank, if not 2, and be quite powerful once you have her maxed out. But again, I'm not there yet, so I'm not giving a definitive answer on that. Now, her regional ranking, unfortunately, she's in the largest region for Runeterra, and right now I would just generally give her a low ranking. If you're trying to look for a champion to clear out those region quests, I would go with someone else, probably like Jax. Again, this could change when she gets maxed out, but at least for lower levels, and even level 20, I would put her fairly low in her region ranking. Alright, so why do you want to play her? Why should you choose her? She is a complex champion, and she's quite versatile. There's a lot of different interesting ways you can play her. But if we take a look at the reasons to avoid her, we also have complex. Sometimes you just want a more chilled, laid-back experience. You don't want to be constantly thinking about, okay, what subtypes have I played? What subtypes have I attacked with? What cost reduction am I going to be using? And you just want to have a more relaxed experience. If you're looking for that, she's not great for that. And then she also has no removal, so it can be hard to deal with certain enemy targets since you don't have consistent ways to take them off the board. I will say though, she does give us a very unique gameplay experience, and to me, I feel like that is the most important part of any champion being added to Path of Champions. Do they feel unique and fun to play? And I think Neeko definitely is able to do that. That's it for the guide though. As you probably have noticed, if you watch a lot of my other guides, I have added a lot of additional sections to these new guides. I hope you all are appreciating them. It does make them decently longer to create, but I think it is a overall improvement. Thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, definitely like and subscribe. Special thank you to all of my awesome members that support the channel. If you want to become a member, hit that join button down below. Also, we did recently just launch a Discord, and it's been growing quite rapidly. If you want to discuss Path of Champions with a bunch of like-minded players, hit the link in the description down below. I hope you have a great day.